Blog Talk Radio.
We're back for another 2 hours of the Dr. John Show in this virtual marathon we've been doing ever since 11 p.m. yesterday. We took an hour break and we're back to just dive into some different issues. The main issue right now that I'd like to get into, should prostitution be legalized? And I think it's fair to say we would not mind delving into also, should marijuana be legalized? The different things that we've gone through that have been made illegal, and then the different controversies that have gone through them, and how it's a much bigger issue than some might see. Ronald Weitzer, Ph.D. professor of sociology at George Washington University, in July said, "Violence Against Women" article that it's flawed in theory and method in the studies of prostitution. He further wrote, "In no area of the social sciences has the ideology contaminated knowledge more perversely than the writings of the sex industry. Too often in this area, the canons of scientific inquiry are suspended and research is deliberately skewed to serve a political or particular agenda." I think that sums up a great portion of why we're diving into this issue today. It seems that anyone has an opinion on this. Often they have it for a political reason. I want to welcome on our special guest / co-host for the evening, Captain Jack. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm just fine, Dr. John. How are you?
I am good. Are you sleepy yet?
I'm getting a little bit, but I'm determined to trudge through at least a little bit of this show this evening.
All right, that sounds like a great deal. Captain Jack is joining us from the West Coast and from an undisclosed location. I, myself, your host for the evening, Dr. John, I'm joining you from the Midwest as I share my time between the Midwest and Las Vegas. I'm joining you, and it's 2:02 Central Standard Time. Yeah. So prostitution is a much bigger issue than some might imagine, and this is because it goes into, is crime going to be increased, and then when it's criminalized, which it's not everywhere, but when it's criminalized there's more crime because you're making it illegal, very similar to the drug trade. When you're making marijuana or other drugs illegal, crime is rampant. And you know, there's no better place to look at the data on this than countries where it's not illegal, or cities for that matter in the United States if you want to bring it closer to home, such as Reno, Nevada, where there's several establishments where prostitution is not illegal. Now, you can't go inside the city limits of Nevada, say along the Strip, but there are places you can go where it's not. And the core question would be, should prostitution be legal? The subcategories are going to drop into economics, it's going to drop into health, morality. Obviously, the church is going to fall into there, brothels, crime, marriage, and prostitution. Is prostitution a threat to marriage? Is it a home wrecker? Pornography, decriminalization versus legalization. We'll go into red light districts, and then we're going to go into demon women. And we're going to go into a bunch of different things on that category. So, without further ado, I'd love to ask Captain Jack, what is your take on this at all? Do you think prostitution should be legal or illegal, and why?
Well, I believe that a happy medium should be established. Something like what you were saying before, like so we were talking about the Bunny Ranch and all the guidelines and all the things that they do. It's basically an in-person porn shoot with all their requirements, qualifications to make sure you don't spread diseases and everything in a legally established place. And I believe that if, like for instance, there's almost, you can go almost anywhere to do almost anything. Even though weed is illegal, they have smokehouses where they frown on it, but they kind of look the other way. Or they have, they have illegal, like since I'm from the West Coast, we'll just say illegal Mexicans are a big issue. Yet we really kind of look the other way on it for whatever reason. So this is kind of like one of those things where it's like we already have the happy medium, like in the Bunny Ranch or a couple of the other places. I believe that if we really want to go there, if someone's really willing to pay the money for it, I believe it should be established in like its own like red light district areas, sort of like a strip club. I mean, we're basically there
Sure.
anyway. And it's just like, it would probably be a lot safer because it would allow us to crack down on street prostitutes. Not saying there's anything wrong with them personally, but they do tend to get diseases, spread diseases, and it's a hard life for them with pimps and everything. It would make those streets it would be a double whammy because it gives the cops an easier time on things like that. It helps. Another issue that can be considered is that on-street prostitutes don't really care how old, like, say, if it's a girl, they're not going to care if the guy is 15 or 55, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
And it's a better way to crack down on, like, that kind of thing, too, where kids are kind of going around like, oh, it's some long-term prostitute or something. And it could clean up the streets. It could help recover the economy as much as a lot of people may hate the thought of it. It's a good, sex sells, and, if they want to do it, more power to them. Just let's make it like porn or the Bunny Ranch or something where it's highly regularized. It's in a safe environment for the women, and let's face it, for the men too, for disease and everything. So, like, I just think we should have that happy medium. It's sort of in the center. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with you 110%, and I there's several different points that you made, so I'll try and touch on them as quickly as I can. But the first being that in making it legal, you're actually creating a better environment, not only for the community, but for, disease and health, and that by regulating it, you're making it a much better thing. The second, point that you're going to about economy and different things like that, I completely agree. Between prostitution and marijuana, those two together, you're looking at $1 billion industry, I'm sure, multi-billion probably. And I think that, with everything having its designated place, whether it be, smoking tobacco to smoking marijuana to prostitution, I think that there's a place for it. And I think that it's completely hypocritical that women can get paid, or men for that matter can get paid to be involved in adult films, but yet they can't get paid to do essentially the exact same activity in the privacy of someone's own home or hotel room. So the message that I get from that is if you introduce a camera, it would be legal for these women to be doing it. And I don't feel that's right. And I would really encourage anyone who argues with that premise to give us a call at 909-533-8302. Is there any difference between adult films and prostitution? Because in my eyes, the woman or the male is getting paid for a sexual act. It happens to be recorded. But, instead of between just two consenting adults, it's a producer or a studio saying, listen, you two, you're going to have sex, and you're going to have sex now, and we're going to film it. So, in other words, you're still paying for a sexual act. So I agree on those 2 points with you 110%. And, the biggest thing here is I wanted to get into the big things. On the economic side of it, we have the question of, is legal prostitution a legitimate business? And then when you got down to the more moral issues of it, or civil issues or civil liberties, you get down to, is it a woman's choice? Is it a man's choice? After all, it's our body. Who is anyone to say what we're going to do with it? And you go into free enterprise and things like that. I think that it definitely has a place, but I do not think that it should be completely banned. I think it's ludicrous and just stupid. So the key concept and demographics that we're going to go into today, some of these are coming from David Kanas, who's a PhD in senior behavioral sciences at the RAND Corporation, and he's just got a lot of great thoughts on the controversies on this. And some of his thoughts are coming from some quotes that he had in 1999. It said the usual way to minimize sampling bias is through the use of probability sampling techniques. However, the nature of commercial sex makes the approach especially difficult because prostitution is an illicit activity which registers and prostitutions are not available. So in other words, it's hard to get the data on whether it's a good thing because in so many areas it's illegal to even do. He goes on and he's published several different articles. And the really nice thing about tonight's show is we're going to dive into both areas of it. So whether I agree or you agree, it doesn't really matter. We're going to also take calls in from our audience tonight and dive in and really tear the issue apart is what I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to just voice my opinion. I think that's boring and dumb and not what I'm here to do. I'd like to have an open debate with people free of, any judgment or hostility, just an open debate on whether this should be legalized. And if you'd like to toss in marijuana into that mix or, anything else that you're thinking about on those issues, you're more than welcome to do so. And that call-in number is 909-533-8302. So, Captain Jack, any other points that you've got on prostitution and the why it should be legal or why it shouldn't?
I just got one, and it's not a serious one, but I just have to say it anyway for obvious reasons. There needs to be subcategories in the legalization. You need the fine honeys on one side and the chubby chaser women on the other.
Nice.
You know what? It makes it easier because you should have a room where you go to the door and it should say chubby chasers here, twig chasers here, happy mediums here, and average curvy women here. And you just walk into that door that you want, and you're surrounded by like big beautiful women or really skinny twiggy women or the happy medium or the straight up Latin curve girls. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you, and one of the thoughts I have is that continually, whether I've been volunteering for the Republican or the Democratic Party or independent, one of the main things I hear at all of these meetings is that, we don't have enough funding for schools. We've got states that aren't getting their budget done, so we don't know whether the states are going to close down, and we're all outcrying for money. One of the biggest reasons being, and I'm sure most are aware of this, so I won't delve into it too far, is that the United States used to be the leading producer of goods in the United States. Now we make maybe 10% of the stuff in a global economy. And I think, we need more ways to draw in revenue and tax dollars and things like that. I'm not for increasing the taxes, but I am for making different avenues that are being taxed. And while these same people from high-end communities and residential places, upstanding citizens who have very valid points are screaming about underfunded schools, I think they should take a look at the different avenues that they're criticizing where we could get the money from. As much as I don't like to think of prostitution funding a new school, I think a new school would be great. I think teachers should be paid more. I think it's ridiculous that there's, major league people and people in the sports industry making millions while teachers who influence these people and tomorrow's youth and things of that aren't getting the standards they need, or they're not getting the supplies and computers. So whether it's marijuana or whether it's prostitution or we just bring the U.S. back to making more goods, I think it would be a very great thing so that we can, get out of this toxic nation that has bridges and infrastructure that's crumbling and really pump some stability into the region. I think it would be a good thing. But that's my opinion, and we're going to dive into some different areas on why it's good and why it's not. And there's a lot of different categories to it, and there's 100 different countries and their prostitution policies that I'm getting worked on, being posted up on the website right now. Got a huge number of tweets coming in from Brown Thumb Girl. Thanks very much for sending your tweet out. Number and percentages of countries with legal and limitedly legal prostitution and the 100 other countries. 40% of countries, this is out of 100 polled, it's illegal. 50% are illegal. And then there's 10% of limited legality. So that gives you a breakdown across the globe of where it is. In the ones where we're saying it is legal, you've got Argentina, Armenia, Austria, Belgium, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cyprus, Czech Republic, United States, United Kingdom, Turkey, Singapore, and the United States obviously falls under that 10% of limited. So I don't know. It's a good debate. It used to be legal, as I'm sure many are aware. It used to be illegal across the United States. Prostitution was legal, and then They passed a law just like they did with alcohol, and boom, it wasn't legal anymore. Catholic churches, we were talking about this actually pre-show as we're getting warmed up for our different topics tonight. Me and Captain Jack were talking about it was about 1700s. The Catholic Church actually endorsed prostitution and funded brothels so that they later could ream money out of there. So it's a controversial topic, and it's definitely something that's worth diving into. We're going to take a really short break here while we await one of the guests that's coming on the show tonight. And I want to say thank you to all the people who are joining us for this, our 4th hour of our shows tonight. And we'll be back in just about 2 minutes on the Dr. John Show. Outstanding, and I'm just checking out the video that Captain Jack suggested in our previous 2-hour show. Man gets ass beat by cop, and I posted the link in the chat room out there. It's pretty hilarious. It's everything you would ever want to say to a police officer when getting pulled over, and literally it'll just be a funny laugh for you tonight, which laughter is always good. So yeah, we went over the different areas of the United States and what their prostitution were. Earlier we were going over some of the categories that we're going to try and get into today. And under health, it was, is prostitution psychologically harmful to prostitutes? Would legal prostitution decrease sexually transmitted diseases? Would legal prostitution reduce HIV and AIDS? And should health checks be mandatory for prostitutes? I think either way, they should be. And that if you are arrested for prostitution, you should receive, obviously a probation period where you're obviously getting these checkups. So that if you're still being involved in it, the courts aren't saying it's legal. They're just saying you're conducting this activity. And, I think, when you get into the mandatory health checks, I think there's the reason they can't make them mandatory presently for unlicensed established places is a lot of privacy laws, because you've got I think it's HIPAA policy, and then you've got different, obviously a lot of red tape whenever it comes to medical issues, and it's very hard to make anybody do anything medically, especially if they fall into the defense of saying, hey, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, or or what have you, so there's got to be a lot of kick up there. We'd love to hear your opinions because this is, obviously your guys' show. You can call in 909-533-8302 and voice your opinion on whether prostitution should be legal. You asleep yet over there, Captain Jack?
Oh, no, I'm still hanging in there, but I'm just letting you take the reins on this show.
Outstanding. Well, I did get your video that, again, was extremely funny, posted over at thegigapig.com, and I added to the videos area. You're going to notice if you go to our videos area, it's now locked down to registered members only, where you have to just express that you're 18, doesn't require a credit card, and it never will. It'll always be free. So just a note there that you can sign in with Facebook if you want, or if that creeps you out and you don't want to use a Facebook key, then you can just create a membership and sign in that way, which is a good way to do it.
Yes.
Looks like I need to take a second to thank our sponsor, Amazon.com. You can find their banner on thegigapig.com and access literally like a gazillion awesome products that get shipped right to your door. And that's kind of the extent of that commercial for them, and we'll...
Hey, my name's Courtney, and you're listening to the Dr. John Show on Blog Talk Radio. Very sexy.
Outstanding. So what, did Devil Doll, did she pop off and head to sleep then?
Yeah, her and her daughter are not strong this evening now.
Damn, I would have loved to have gotten her opinion on that. And I see that your girl Callie is in the chat room tonight checking out the show, so, she would be an excellent one to call in and voice her opinion, especially from a woman's perspective, saying what another woman thinks if this should be legal or not legal. And, under the morality, is prostitution immoral? I think this is one that I have a lot of trouble with. For the pros, yes. You've got one of the quotes that we found today was Don Checkley, which was the director of the Pittsburgh Coalition Against Pornography. He wrote on legalized prostitution and said, quote, prostitution as an institution is evil. It doesn't matter if it's the world's oldest profession. It's still wrong. However, prostitutes themselves are not evil, and neither are their Johns. They are usually broken and needy individuals seemingly trapped by circumstances of their lives. And going on, he goes on to talk about how Jesus loves those people, which I would completely agree with on that aspect. I think, there are some, whether you want to call them escorts or ladies of the night, that I don't think are in it anymore because of circumstance. If you look at it, I believe it was Heidi Fleiss, but I'd have to look it up. There's women that have, been very well off, and they still continue to do it. I mean, in the having enough money sitting around where this isn't even something they need to do. They want to do it. And I don't know whether this is a raised hand or not. Devil Doll, is that you?
Hello?
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 Hello.
Me?
Yes,
Yes.
209, you're on the air.
It's Callie.
Oh, hey, Callie, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I am good. You've got the same area code as one of our close friends who calls in all the time.
Oh, really? The Central Valley.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
what would be your perspective as a woman on prostitution?
I don't mind. I actually had a conversation with one of my friends about this. I don't care. Like, it's, how do I put this? Like, I'll just do this, like, in different, like, terms. Like, if you choose to do a job, like if you choose to be work at McDonald's, or if you choose prostitution or stripper or whatever, it's your choice to be one of them. And like that's why I don't like the tip very much, like because you kind of choose the job. And yes, I'm totally not a tipper, but lately I've been trying to just help the economy out. But it's like you choose to do that. If you want to do something different, then you will. So if people want to have sex for money, then let them. As long as the people going into it know that, of all of the whole diseases things. I'm totally a person who, gets checks, and, like, I'm totally the person, if I'm going to talk to somebody, that I ask about, their sexual history, then it's, you have to be smart about it. You have to have safe sex. And you really can't be like, oh, the prostitutes have to get tested and stuff like that. And I just think it's a choice. So if they want to do it, go ahead. My friend actually did, like, she was in, what is it called? Like arguments, debate. She did a debate about this, and this is how we were talking about in class, how I was doing it. But I'm all for it. It's your choice to do that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, how many times do we see people on the side of the road with a sign and then say, why doesn't that person just get up and jog? You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, I'm really bad about that. Like, I sound like a total bitch or whatever, saying, thinking that they should get a job, but I was, like, duped by some woman with a child with a sign, and I saw the child, and I was like, oh, my God. And so I went to go, actually had food from, for my lunch. So I was like, I'm going to give it to him. And she was wanting money for gas. And I was like, I don't even have enough money to put gas in my tank. So, a couple months go by, and she's out there again at the same place. I was like, what the hell? You can't be at the same place twice and run out of gas. So it was really
and some
frustrating.
of those people with the signs on the street, they've done studies. They make $60,000 to $80,000 a year. I don't know whether it was on this show or the one before it. I think it might have been the show before it. I put up this sign that someone was holding on the side of the road, and it said, my father was attacked by ninjas, so I need money for karate lessons. This was what was on his cardboard sign. And he's making a joke because at this point in the year, it might have been June or July, he's already made $60,000. He's on his way to $120,000. So, I think when we're complaining about these people and how they need to get a job and things like that, we need to have a certain amount of compassion and say there may not be other things that they can do. Maybe the call center's not hiring. I've been there. Maybe, they go to the local factory. They're not hiring. And when it comes down to it, especially if you've got kids to feed or you're just trying to take care of yourself, you've got to do what you have to. And I think, making something like prostitution illegal is in my view, ludicrous simply because it's not hurting anybody if it was regulated the right way. If you've got them being checked and obviously you can't in all cases demand that, but I think Reno's got a good handle on it. They mandate that they get checked once a month for AIDS. They have to have, like we said earlier in the show, a pecker checking room where before there's any type of intercourse in Reno in these establishments, you have to physically be checked out. In a lot of instances, they have a doctor in and out of the establishment actually doing periodic checkups on these girls. So, if you look at that or you go over to Australia, these people have got a great handle on it. They don't have the crime associated with criminalized prostitution because it just doesn't exist. Wherever, I don't need statistical data to know that it's a fact. Whenever you're making something illegal, crime is going to follow. It's the same with the drug trade, and it's the same with prostitution. And so it's the main reason that I wanted to look at this issue today, because I think it's something that should be addressed in the future.
Yeah, I think the government, I think people who try to control everything don't realize that everything's a choice, and it is really, I'm not being like, pro-choice, blah, 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 but really it is. We choose to do what we do. We choose the jobs that we take. We choose the jobs and the education that we get. We choose it as a person. And, I'm not, say anything about the government, but, dude, no one's going to tell me who, say, for instance, gay marriage. No one's going to tell me who I cannot and cannot love or who I want to have sex with. It's none of their business. What are they going to come do, knock on my door and be like, you can't do that? No. But
you make a great point because there's reasons that we've established the government and there's reasons that we haven't. And I think a lot of people forget that the few reasons that they were there was to protect us and establish a government and ultimately to serve us. The people that we elect to Senate or whether it's going all the way up to the administration at the White House, They're there to serve us. They're holding a public office, not to imprison us, not to control us. That's not what they were ever put there for. And that was the beauty of the United States. I'm not going to say it is currently the beauty of the United States, because while we still have a lot of freedoms, slowly and, at a steady pace, more and more, we're being more and more controlled. So, Gunslinger is saying the prostitution has been around since day one. Sex sells. It's a great point. It absolutely has.
It does. I mean, look at, take a pop artist for, now, like, they're so sexual, like, their songs are so sexual, and then their photos are so sexual, like, it's going to sell the money. It is, what I do, like, if I can be, how do I say this? On Twitter, I can just be like, today's a lovely day. No one gives a fuck about today. Like, if I said, like, today, well, today's Thursday, but yesterday was Wednesday, and it's hump day, and I was like, happy hump day, happy humping. Like, everyone liked that and, like, retweeted it. So, of course, like, it was funny, but it was sexual, and, like, people seemed to be like, ha, ha, ha. Because a lot of people are afraid to push the boundaries.
I would completely agree with that, and the whole premise that sex sells. And we brought it up earlier in the show, and it would be great to get your take on this. How does prostitution differ from people making an adult video where cash is being traded in hands for two people to have intercourse on film?
How does it differ? Which it really doesn't. It doesn't. You're pretty much selling your body. Even if you do webcam or just do, like, Playboy, I mean, pretty much you're getting money to, have other people get turned on. So it's the same thing. There's nothing different about it. It's hypocritical of America and hypocritical of, our government to be like, oh, that's okay. And then really, because you need consent to have porn, or do porn, and you need consent, obviously, to be a prostitute or be in Playboy or do whatever. You need consent. So if you're giving consent, and then it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm really against, like, sex trafficking, where they can't obviously get out of the whole situation. Like, I'm against that, obviously, because you're forcing people to have sex for a greater profit. But if someone wants to, have sex with whoever and get paid for it, more power to them. Is that for me? No, but good for them.
You make two really good points there, and the first point I completely agree with is that it's someone else's prerogative if they want to do it, and it may not be for you, but who are we to critique the other ones? And then, when we're discussing adult film and it being pretty much the same thing, like what I like to do is I start at one point of agreement, and then I kind of work backwards and get people's opinion. And what I see prostitution as, or whether you're taking adult film, is the same as any other job. You're really just trading your time for money, which is what we're all doing. And how many people go to work and feel like they're just getting by their boss? Like it's not where they want to be. It's not what they want to do. I don't think ultimately I'll say 80%. 80% of people I don't think like their job. I don't think if they had a choice they would be doing it. And, it's all customer service, no matter what you're doing. Whether you're a prostitute or you're taking calls on the phone, we're all just selling our time. And that's my thoughts on it.
No one can, not everyone can be a prostitute, though. Like, how you're saying, like, you hate your job, become a prostitute. Well, not everyone can be a prostitute, because then we're not going to have anyone who's going to be a waitress, or I'm going to call AT&T, there's no one going to be there. So, like... Yeah.
No, and my point isn't that if you don't like your job, go become a prostitute. My point's actually more intense than that. My point is, if you're at a job you don't like, you're already a prostitute. You're there serving someone else, and you're selling your time for money doing something that you probably don't want to do, and while you're not taking off your clothes to do it, you're selling your time. And that's the essence of what I'm saying. Is just that it's all just an exchange of time, and legalizing it could only make it better. We'll take a quick break here, and hopefully your girl Callie will stick around because she's got some great points, and I love the Dr. John Show. It is 2:37 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to check in. Captain Jack, have you fallen asleep on the phone yet?
No, but I'm going to leave here in a minute because unfortunately I'm going to have to be up at 7:30 West Coast time, so...
You do that. It'll be A-okay. I'm crossing my fingers that Jesse Hart will get back in here, but what an amazing thing with her and getting pulled over by the police and just her whole thing. If you didn't get to check that out, just listen to the archive of the show right before this one, since we've been doing a 4-hour marathon tonight. And Captain Jack, you definitely get the sleep that you need to get.
I will in just a while. Did Callie girl stay in the live chat?
Yeah.
She's on right now. I'm going to hold her on as long as I can, and then we'll release her and let her fly away like a butterfly.
We're going to keep her as our prisoner for now. Actually, Callie girl, you seem really familiar to me.
What?
You sound very familiar to me. I wonder if we've met before.
I have blog talk radio shows for like a year and a half. I'm in radio, so maybe I've been on Off Limits, I've been on Bench in the Bay, I've been on my own show, yeah.
Maybe. You also live in the same sort of area that I do, so it's entirely possible I may have run into you at some point.
Where are you, what city are you from, or town, when they're not really cities?
I live in Modesto, California.
Well, you've probably heard me on the radio.
There you go. Yeah, maybe something like that. There you go. See, Dr. John, we got a real radio host. We're amateurs. The real one's here now.
Yeah, there you go.
No.
Yeah, probably you've heard me on the radio, on your airwaves.
Did you ever do anything on, like, Rock 96.7?
No, I don't work for the Rock 96.7, but Rock 96.7 is an awesome radio station.
Ain't it, though? It's, like, fantastic. So much better than the Hawk. The Hawk is good for classics, but there's just no beating the 96.7 for everything else.
I love Bueller. Bueller is like my homie. I love him.
Really, well, yeah. I like Skippy. Skippy is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I like Will and Bueller. We weren't in the same class, so we all went to Modesto Junior College, so it was really cool.
That's fantastic. For Dr. John, who's probably staring at his phone light right now saying, what the hell are they talking about? Those are the different hosts of the Rock 96.7 station during the day. Skippy's on in the mornings, and Bueller and Will are on in later afternoon kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I was following you pretty well. I'm a world traveler, so I was following you along. I was just letting you guys have your little moment on air.
I'm a milk. Yeah. I work out in Merced, so.
Oh, Merced, yeah, you're not far away from me at all, are you?
Nope, 45 minutes.
Yeah. Look at this, Dr. John. Random happenstance, two people within 45 minutes of each other in the whole wide internet.
I was thinking that it was a really good likelihood due to the fact that her area code's the same as Devil Doll. So.
Well, yeah. Obviously, 209 is probably what you're referring to.
No, I was referring to 212.
No. Oh, see, I'm tired. I don't know these things right now. So, anyways, okay, hold up. Before I go, other than that, I want to touch briefly on the relationship status thing before I get off this, since it was my suggestion, because I kind of like hearing about people's suggestions and people's, when I'm talking one-on-one with people in a casual setting, has anyone ever noticed that when they're married or dating someone, all they ever complain about is essentially their partner? But if you're single, or said person becomes single, they just look lost. They don't even know what they're doing, and then they feel compelled to go find another partner. Do you guys follow what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, we've got a good example of that in our own life with a gentleman in a town near us that you're good friends with. You know, he's not with his wife anymore. He's completely like a lost puppy right now. And I go over and visit him, and it's just, he's a completely different person, where all he used to do was complain about, different things with her and things like that. Now he's just devastated that she's gone. So I completely agree with where you're coming from.
What about you, Cali Girl? What are your thoughts?
It all depends on what it is. I think we seek something and we really find something, but it's not what we're looking for. So, I'm single, so I guess it's like, because when I was with somebody, I was just complaining about whatever he did wrong. But I think we look for someone to complete us when technically really it's not the right one, and they're just in our lives to, let us learn something. So, you just got to move on. You just can't let somebody get you down and let you, what's the word I'm looking for, and hold you back. My friend's was in a relationship that this girl held him back, and I find it stupid because I'm not one of those girls who would do that. And, I have a bunch of guy friends, and I don't understand why girls are so crazy. But then when I get with a guy, I'm crazy because he makes me crazy. So, and really, a lot of communication and a lot of open minds would be great, but realistically, we're not going to get that. So we just got to deal with it.
Yes, I agree, because I'm also like on the single realm, and it's fun some days. I will admit that I do complain about being single every so often. What guy doesn't? But when you find someone you care about, it becomes much more difficult to be single simply because you care about said person, and when you care about that individual, it's like you're like, I could travel the world and I can do this because I have no like me personally, I don't have any children or anything, so I could do all these things. But like for people in that status, you know what I mean? That whether they be single or not, once they find that niche that they want, it's like you find yourselves thinking something like, well, I could go to Africa, but do I really want to, or do I want to sit here? Not pursue is the wrong word, and woo is the wrong word, but do I want to see what kind of choices I can make here? Do you always want? It's one of those things like, do you want to look back and wonder if you had done this differently? You could be in a villa in France and be alone at 50 and looking back and saying, if I had just stayed there a little longer, what could have happened? Or vice versa, if you're with someone and you wonder, it could have had the villa in France. I mean, there's like human nature. You're never truly happy with either. You are happy, but I find that when most people are with someone they're truly, like what Cali Girl was saying, content with, when they truly like the person, they're truly in love and everything, they couldn't be separated from each other for longer than a week. It would destroy both of them, kind of thing. They become two halves, become a whole, and I really believe those who find their niche, like a true niche, really don't want to ever separate. Doesn't matter where they live or what they do. It's like, this is the person I'm with, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I had a really good point. Go ahead, John. You can talk. Or you can...
No, it's totally cool. I was just going to say, what you're saying, it also ties into today's topic with prostitution being legal in the aspect of whatever you're pursuing in life and just being content with the situations you're making and finding peace with whatever it is you're doing is so pivotal. And I think, Captain Jack, the words you spoke tonight are going to come back, and we're going to save this recording, for a lifetime, so that you can come back at 60 and think about wholeheartedly, did you take the time and did you make the right decisions, and did you do the reflection that you needed to do? And I think that what you'll find is it doesn't really matter. You're always going to have those questions. You're always going to question your actions and what you should have done differently.
I agree.
I mean, you bring up, a French villa and things like that. And to me, there's the perspective of, yes, there's the person you could meet in France. I don't think anybody's choices should be limited to the exact region they're in. I don't think, personally, if you're talking about a soulmate, you're always going to find them on Live Links or Match.com or eHarmony. But at least with eHarmony, you're opening it up globally, whereas everyone else kind of confines it to the region they're in and then wonders why they're unhappy. So there's the one perspective: you could meet the girl of your dreams at that villa in France, or you could take the girl of your dreams to that villa in France. Absolutely. So it's a hard call. You got to find someone who's going to enjoy to do those things with you.
You got to find that niche person.
Yeah, dating's dating, whether it's online or offline or through friends or whatever. Dating's dating. Like, you have to connect with the person. You have to have common ground, because I'm very blunt, upward person. I ask a couple questions, and if the guy doesn't fit my criteria, then I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna waste my time, and then I move on. But I just think that's what people need to do. You need to ask what the other person's looking for, and can you provide that? Can you provide a relationship? Can you provide friends with benefits? Can you provide whatever they're looking for? And do you want to?
So So being that you're single now, Callie, what would those questions be, or do you feel comfortable enough to give out a couple of them on air as to what those questions the guys you asked them for?
Yeah, I asked them what is their opinion about same-sex marriage, because I have a lot of gay friends, and my ideal, if I do get married, if that's possible, I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know if I'm going to have kids. I don't know. I've watched a lot of 16 and Pregnant. I don't feel like I want to get kids right now. But that's just right now. But I'm trying to be funny. It's a joke, y'all. So it's a joke. But I have a lot of gay friends, and I love them, and I want them to be a part of my wedding. They're going to be a part of my life, and my kids are going to call them Gunkle, which means gay uncle, and that's one of them. I always ask the person what they want. What do they want? What are they looking for? Are they looking for a hookup? Are they looking for long term? Are they just looking for dating? Are they looking to meet someone that's really cool, not cool, a douchebag, nice, or whatever? And what was the other question? I had the other question, but I totally forgot. And just how, I can, pretty tell much where it's going, based off the conversation. So,
have you ever had people that you felt were giving you bullshit answers with those questions?
Bullshit? No, not ever bullshit. But a lot of people don't know what they want. When you're starting to get to know somebody, you're like, oh, so what's your favorite color? What's this? Whatever. The questions I totally hate are, what do you like to do for fun? You can tell what kind of person they are by how you answer it. Chilling, with your friends, going camping. You can tell if they're of interest or not. All the little, I like to play 20 questions. You get to know the person, and then you can just base off your thoughts on that.
I think that's good, and I think for those people that may be single and listening to this show, the best piece of advice I can give you for online dating is, whether it's Match.com or whether it's eHarmony, make sure that you're answering those profile questions honestly, open and honestly. Otherwise, don't blame yourself when down the road you're matched up with somebody and you don't understand why it didn't work out.
Yeah. And, I was dating someone, a month ago. Well, months ago? Whatever. He was, a friend, and, we wanted two different things. And so I told him, I was very honest. I was like, what do you want? This is not going to change our situation. This is not going to change it. Because we were friends before dating. And, I gave him options, and if a person gives you options, then you better answer them and not ignore them. But just saying, a little bit on that. But you just be upfront. Know what you want. Do you want to hook up? Do you want a relationship? Do you just want to date? Do you want to settle down? Because, once you're in a relationship, it's not just you, it's we. So whatever you do affects you and the other person. So a lot of single people want relationships but don't really know how to live it, because you live, just for yourself and just you, and then when you get in a relationship, you just think it's you, but when it's really two people.
You and someone else, yeah. So I guess, that brings up an interesting point. I think from a male's perspective, and I'm sure females sometimes are maybe afraid of this too, but from a different standpoint, so let's say a guy is honest with you and says, yeah, I just want to hook up. I'm pretty sure that most men figure that's going to be an immediate no.
No, well, it all depends on the girl. Because, if you're upfront, honest, depending on where the girl is at in life, then she might go with it. I don't want a relationship right now. Well,
there you go.
I don't know what I want. Actually, I really don't know what I want. I say that I don't want one, but then I know deep down inside I do. So I don't know what I want, but I put on a front about me being single and single packed and stuff like that, and then I just no, but then I do, but then I don't. So, like, if I probably got into a relationship, it would be bad because I don't know what I want. But be honest with somebody. It's all about communication. Like, if I was to tell you, John, I was like, okay, I just want to hook up. What would you think? Would you be like, okay,
thankfully she's being honest and upfront, and I think you give a lot of great advice on just being upfront and honest with the people and saying what you want. We're going to take a very quick commercial break. I'm assuming our good friend Captain Jack is going to be tossing off for the night, so we'll bid him adieu, unless you're still hanging around the line, and thus we'll say goodnight in person.
No, I'm going to say goodnight before you go to commercial break. Dr. John, it's been a pleasure. Callie girl,
as always.
Fun. I hope to see you on some later episodes.
You definitely will. Thanks very much, Captain Jack. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the Dr. John Show. Back. It's going to be 3 a.m. Central Standard Time in just a little bit here, and thank you so much to everybody as we go into the last hour who's been catching our marathon tonight. This marathon is more because we're not going to be on this weekend, and the next week after that, hopefully we will be back, but we are going to miss this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's show, so we want to do something special to make up the time for everybody who was gracious enough from nightflirt.com to purchase our members area, so thanks to all those people, and if you're tuning in and you're not from Night Flirt, well, you just lucked out. You get the show for free. We're still joined by your girl, Callie, who's an amazing trooper who's hanging out with me tonight, and I'm grateful because guess what? My co-host was recently arrested, and she's going through a lot. She called in today for the earlier show today and described the different things, but she's dealing with a lot. So Jesse Hart is in our thoughts and prayers, and we hope everything works out for you. Apparently, Just to summarize, somebody had stolen a car, picked her up, and she had no idea the car was stolen. She was riding in the back with a bunch of people, and then instead of just pulling over when the police turned the sirens on, this guy thought it would be really great to just head off in a high-speed pursuit. So that's dominating the news out in our local area, and Jessie Hart's involved, and she was nice about it, though. She didn't go into what police department she was upset with or disclose any of the people's names. She was very, very professional and just, I don't know, as upbeat as she could be about it. So, Callie, do you remember at all, and I was trying to ask in the chat room too, do you remember what topic that one show was you said I should get into? And I don't remember what it was, but it was a couple days back on Facebook.
Oh, when I was listening to, what show was it? Me and Donovan were listening to a show, and you were like, I think it was, the best oral or something. And like,
yeah,
you were
okay.
talking about a frozen condom or something like that. And I thought, doing what everyone does, you and your friends, I think it would be really cool if you did like a show where you got a whole bunch of like questions asked and like you just like kind of gave like advice. Like, say if they're in a relationship for so long and they want to spice it out in the bedroom, and you could give them tips, and like then people can try it and stuff like that. I think that would be super cool.
That would be very cool, and I think Jessie Hart, are you joining us right now? 612.
I am, dear.
Oh, I don't know if you heard earlier. I was sending you warm vibrations over the lines because I definitely feel for what you're going through right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm taking a brisk walk outside. It's quite nice outside this time of night. Nobody's out to bother you.
Nice.
It's drizzling.
Well, I think Callie, you bring up a great point with the show ideas there, and I'm pretty sure that Jessie will be open to the questions too. So, if you have questions, what I'm gathering from this is if it's of sexual nature, or toys, or relationships, or anything like that, you can anonymously give us a call at 909-533-8302. And if you need to call with a blocked number, that's fine. We'll screen your call. That's no problem. And then if you're not calling from a blocked number, then we can immediately get you on air to answer any questions you might have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, toys. And that was back with filling the condom with water and making it into a toy. And we got into a lot of them. And, I get into these shows and I have to reset my barometer and understand that just because the industry that I am, not everybody else is open and free with talking about toys and adult things of that nature. So I take a step backwards. I'm very, very blessed to be surrounded by a group of friends that are very open about sexuality and free to talking about toys and things of that nature. So again, you're welcome to call up with any questions you have.
I think there's a lot of people out there, they have mixed emotions about them. Sometimes they might think that they're, ooh, that's so gross, and then they really try them, and they find out they really like them. Or they're too afraid to try them because maybe somebody's going to think they're strange. I don't know. I've come across some
I
like that
think
before.
You're very right. And we got into earlier how prostitution being legalized can reduce disease, and I would say there's a much greater point in people being free to express themselves through toys and at home that could really reduce disease. I think a lot of this acting out sexually comes from the oppression that we've got at home or through the years. It's the same instance why in the United States nudity is such a huge thing to see at 18 because we're so repressed, but when you go over to France, even some of their commercials have nudity in them.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, do you really think that prostitution would help stop the spread of the disease? I mean, people, I believe, would probably be just as careless sometimes, don't you think? Or no?
I will table that, and I will answer that in 1 second. First, we're going to bring 309. You're on the air with the Dr. John Show.
Right? This is your Blog Talk Radio. We have discovered a offensive item on your blog. Could you please remove it? Thank you.
That's really great, 309. So, outstanding. So the question you were asking was, do I think that it would, slow the spread of disease? And I think absolutely. I think that if it were monitored and legalized, then you're not going to have the women out on the street. You're going to have them in buildings and establishments that are going to pay for that and also pay for their health care. When you look at Reno, Nevada as a test area or test subject, and this is just my
like
opinion.
your bunny ranch.
Yeah, you've got them being checked monthly for AIDS. You've got a doctor in-house most of the time checking on different things, and then you've got a pecker room where the guys need to be checked out beforehand. I can't name one street corner anywhere where there's a pecker room.
Wow.
There might be room for a pecker.
Of several, maybe.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you have a differing opinion, you're welcome to call up, and we invite the fake Blog Talk Radio people to call in again. For the person calling from the 3-something area code, I won't give their full area code out. That's not the area code of Blog Talk Radio, so good luck with that.
Stupid. So what do you? Oh.
A lot of spammers that are on Blog Talk Radio. So sad. It was never like this when I was actually doing shows.
They want to call up and say that they're the moderator, and that's great. But, even whether I've been a paid member or, like, the extreme paid member, I haven't been able to get technical support on the phone ever. So to think that they're actually, like, sitting around and secretly monitoring my show, I highly doubt it. I can't even get them on the phone when I want them. We'll say hello again to Gunslinger, and just entered the room was King of the Trolls. So hello to you.
King of the Trolls.
I'll take a quick look back at the different categories we were going to get into, and I know that we touched on the moral issue of prostitution for the pros. Yes, that it's immoral. We looked into some quotes from Dorn Checkerly, who is the director of the Pittsburgh Coalition Against Pornography. On the cons of no, that it's not immoral, we have Lori Schrage, Ph.D., professor of philosophy at the California State University of Pomona, and she wrote an article that was really, really well written. U.S. feminists split over Berkeley prostitution measure. And her quote was, "For feminists like me, punitive laws against prostitution symbolize one of the things I'd most like to change about our society, named doubly standards of sexual morality, the result in stimulating," wow, she's stimulating, "not just prostitutes, but many unconventional women as sluts or whores." And stimulating was supposed to be stigmatizing, or however you would say that.
Yeah, it is kind of, what do you want to call it? Guys can go sleep with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they're high-fiving. And a chick does it, she's a whore, whether she's getting paid for it or not. But then, you have your guy friends or other males encouraging you, yeah, you should go do that for some money. Really? And if I did do it for money, then what would you be saying?
Yeah,
such a double standard. But it is an old profession. Known.
King of the Trolls was mentioning that you need to hit the support button a few times, and you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter what problem I'm having, BTR doesn't get in touch with me. I do happen to know their area code, just for some odd reason. But yeah, I think, the women who are doing prostitution probably feel bad enough about their situation, some of them, and for the other majority that don't feel bad about it and are just doing it, my main feeling that tosses out everything else is that if it was legalized, it would just be better for everybody.
Right. I agree. Mm-hmm. Then, you wouldn't have people doing it on the corner and girls getting beat up and, killed and murdered and
Tito the pimp taking all their money.
Yeah.
And I also
well, I think with... Oh, go ahead.
The reason why I didn't pay for Blog Talk Radio is because their technical support and their audio quality is shitty.
Yeah, it's no joke there. And if you do have a problem, you know, whether you're a paid member or not, it takes a lot to get a hold of them, which is fine. I like their new studio. You know, big congratulations on that. It looks much better than the 1980s looking switchboard that they had. So that's very cool. But we're going to take a call really quick from Wild Goose. You're on the air with the Dr. John Show.
Hey, what's up, Dr. John? You're the doctor. Yo, you know, I definitely think, you know, there's a lot of women out there that get the hurt put on them, but, you know, I just had this to say to your female co-host. How much?
I don't know, probably more than you can afford.
Nah, bullshit. I make $100
Somebody
grand.
has to pay me some top dollar.
I'll pay you top dollar.
Sweet. What's top dollar to you? It's
about,
not $20, I'll tell you that.
I'm lowballing.
A what?
It's called bargaining. 1,500.
Bargaining. 600?
No,
We
1,500.
get an offer for 1,500 if we can get 2,000. 2,000. Call in 909-533-8302. Do I hear 2,000?
Are you soliciting on air? You're soliciting on air. What is this?
No, I'm not soliciting.
No, that's what I just heard. You just offered yourself to me for $600.
Oh, my God.
I did not offer.
We've thrown them to a private screening room, and then we'll pop them out. So that's great.
That's lovely.
Amazing. I was going to put, Jesse, you're back out of the private room. I was going to throw you guys in a private room to battle it out yourselves since, you know, some guy offers a ridiculous statement like that, but... man, that is definitely not the topic today.
Yeah. I just clicked on his profile, and I guess he's a left-winger.
Okay. With
Yeah,
that, we're going to take a very, very quick commercial break here, and we'll open the chat lines back up. 909-533-8302, and then in the last 40 minutes here, we're going to move off of should prostitution be legal, and we'll be back in 3 minutes on the Dr. John Show. minutes left to go on the Dr. John Show on this 23rd of June. And today's topic was, should prostitution be legalized? And we went over that. I understand there's some moderating going on in the chat room. I'm not running the board, so for those, I heard a comment that it was harsh or something like that. I think they administered a timeout just because of the kind of the basics of the call that came on. So all in good fun.
Sound kind of tired, John.
Yeah, just about. I think I'm gonna wrap it up if we don't have more questions about should prostitution be legal. Feels like we've covered a lot of ground on it, and I don't know.
Well, what about, is there really any institutions out there or any businesses for men to be prostitutes? Kind of like, mostly women are in that profession, but you don't really hear about a whole lot of male gigolos, like juice gigolo, Hello?
Yeah, I'm not. You don't hear as much about them, but there's definitely a huge market of them for the male prostitution ring, whether it's male escorts or otherwise.
I guess you just don't hear about those ones as much.
No, you don't, and it goes back to the same points that you and Callie were making earlier tonight about how there's such a negative connotation on the women's side of things, and yet there's not as negative a connotation on the men's side of things, and there's not enough attention paid over there either.
No, but guys will be the ones to rip it and tear it down, but they're the first ones standing in line with their money.
Yes, any female can get laid. Like, it doesn't matter what you look like or whatever. If you were like, hey, let's fuck, and then, I'm not saying all guys would say yes, but
most would.
It's easier for a female to get, laid than a guy. Like, if a guy was like, let's fuck, I would look at him like, are you kidding me? Like, but she most of that, the guys obviously pick up safety.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear here because of some of the conversation that's going on in the chat room. There is in no way anybody soliciting anything on this show tonight. This is an open dialogue, or at least it was supposed to be, about whether prostitution should be legal, and citing a lot of different documentation in that area. So it's really unfortunate it turned into what it did, especially in the chat room end of things. So with that, we're going to probably end our marathon that we were doing tonight. We're going to stay until 4 a.m. We'll cut it off now and wish you all a great night. Thanks for listening to the Dr. John Show.
Hey, my name's Courtney, and you're listening to the Dr. John Show on Blog Talk Radio. Very sexy.